Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Thank you all for tuning in to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Evan Worley. We are back with another episode. Happy Friday to everybody, or if you're listening to this on the weekend, happy weekend, I guess, or whatever day you're listening to this on. Just to recap how the week has gone on my end, not bad, not too shabby. I've just been, I just started coaching baseball out here in Rockwall, Texas, so that's been going pretty well for the most part. We're introducing some new guy, who actually is the only five-time College World Series participant, because I don't know what happened to him. I think it was like I think he got like a medical red shirt or something, but he was on the Miami Hurricanes for 5 straight years in the College World Series. So he's coming in, Saturday to help us coach and teach us all a bunch of new things. So that's pretty tight. I'm looking forward to that. And then, I actually got a job offer to work with FC Dallas in the world of soccer. So I'm pretty stoked on that, finally getting to work again in the world of sports. I can't really complain. That's really all I ever wanted. Ever since I was a kid, all I wanted to do was work in sports and just find whatever niche little market I could find, and just kind of go forward with some sort of career in there, hopefully ending up to being the general manager of a team somewhere. But because I feel like I have the knowledge and I have the historical, I study sports. I've read books about like the past, and I've seen all the games and all that kind of stuff. So I know trends. I can recognize trends, and I've done pretty well for the most part. All my predictions for the season that I did in the right before the season started in July, or I would say early August, I think. Those have been going pretty well, actually. I've been getting most of them right. So we'll see how it goes. I just need to, I just need to put that work in and, get the resume going. Anyways, so going into this week's news of baseball. So it's been a weird week of baseball. We've seen history in many different ways. First, and before we get all to that, rest in peace to Tom Seaver. It seems like every single day somebody historical in sports has been passing away. Like, it's been happening a lot in the NBA. With like Lute Olson and, John Thompson. John Thompson was one of my favorite coaches. I've always been a big Georgetown guy for basketball. So, seeing him, pass away this week was pretty sad. And then, you got the best, you could argue, I don't even think you can argue, the best player to ever put on a Mets jersey, Tom Seaver, passed away this week. It was just sad to see. It's getting really lame seeing all the rest in peace and everything like that. But, I was just watching Tom Seaver highlights because obviously, I'm 25 and anybody, around my age never even got close to seeing Tom Seaver pitch. But, that was that was one hell of a pitcher, man. That was absolutely insane. Like, for the people who think that, he couldn't, do anything in today's game, that is just so false. Like, maybe, the hitters couldn't catch up to what they were throwing today, but, I mean, like, Tom Seaver and all those pitchers back in the day probably would have just translated seamlessly into today's game and just absolutely dominated. And speaking of dominant pitching, let's move on to some of the history that was made this weekend. So basically, the best reliever in the game right now, hands down, no question, is Josh Hader. So Josh Hader finished the Brewers' 8-5 win on Wednesday night over the Tigers with a record-setting 12th consecutive hitless appearance to begin a season. He has not given up a single hit in 12 straight appearances. Just like in this whole season. That means this whole season, the whole month of August, this man has not given up a single hit. That is absolutely insane. We all know Josh Hader because he bursted out on the scene and became an all-star with the Milwaukee Brewers and instantly became one of the hottest bullpen pieces in the game. And he did make some noise on the trade market this year, even though that they said they needed like some Herculean offer that they really could not pass up at all. But so he stayed with the Milwaukee Brewers, but he's absolutely carved up everyone. In his hitless games, it's 11 2/3 innings to begin 2020. And that is the longest season opening streak of appearances without allowing a hit in history, snapping a tie he had shared with 2017 Tiger Justin Wilson and 1999 Scott Aldred of the Phillies and 1987 John Franco of the Reds. So it has happened for 11 straight games, but never 12. Josh Hader sits up there all alone, and that's absolutely crazy. It didn't take a lot to know that this year you were gonna see some stuff that was absolutely bananas coming from just the sport in general, because 2020 has just been absolutely bananas, and nothing makes sense, to the point where we were asking ourselves if the Baltimore Orioles was going to be an actual playoff contender, and the Detroit Tigers, who were projected to be one of the worst teams in baseball, is still with a month left in the year, right in the thick of things to get into the postseason. I think out of the 8 playoff spots in the AL, I think they're 9th right now, like 9th or 10th, only a couple games back. Like, they're still, they're a slump and a hot streak, away from, making the postseason as a team that people were looking at as like, just dumpster divers, pretty much like the bottom of the barrel teams in the AL, and they still have a chance. So everything's kind of weird. I'm not surprised that we've seen so much history being made. And speaking of history, we saw the solo. Let's go to some teammates. So, per the Elias Sports Bureau, Adam Duvall and Marcell Ozuna of the Atlanta Braves are the only MLB teammates to ever produce 3 homer performances in consecutive games since Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. But on May 21st and May 22nd of 1930, almost 100 years ago, was the last time we've seen it. And I don't know if you guys have been watching the Atlanta Braves. I don't know if you guys get annoyed at the Atlanta Braves because I talk about them so much. But Marcell Ozuna has been crushing baseballs to the point where, like, I've not seen a homer he hit that just might have, like, maybe squeaked out of the ballpark a little bit. No, this dude is hitting mammoth tanks. Mammoth tanks. I think he hit the third homer that he hit on Tuesday's game, when he hit his 3-homer game. The one that he hit to center was probably the furthest hit ball I've ever seen in Fenway Park. He went upper deck center field, which I didn't even know was a thing, and he just crushed it. Like, he obliterates baseballs. When the Atlanta Braves said that they were getting rid of Josh Donaldson, which was a 35 to 36 home run, hitter the year before, I was like, oh God, what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to get that kind of offensive production back if we're not going to get Donaldson back? And then they signed Marcell Ozuna, who absolutely torched us in the NLDS last season. Famously, the 10-run first inning in Game 5 of the NLDS that knocked us out of it before the game even really got going. Once we signed him, I was like, okay, it is game on, and he has just been killing anybody and everybody ever since. He actually became the first National League player ever to hit 3 home runs in a game at Fenway Park. And, since he was the first one to ever do it, he also is now, he has, someone right next to him, because Adam Duvall 24 hours later did it as well. So, he's not alone in that sense either, but, it's nice to see that Adam Duvall is out here crushing homers and doing his thing, and he's back to where he was at, because he was doing pretty well a couple of years ago when the Braves got him from the Cincinnati Reds. He was having a really good season that year, just crushing homers left and right. And then last season he struggled a whole lot, fluctuating between AAA and the bigs, and not really getting much consistency out of the guy. But he's really turned it on this year, and he's been having one hell of a season. So we just saw multiple records happen in Fenway on back-to-back days. It was absolutely insane. And then moving on to, I would say long-term history, I guess. Mike Trout is tied for the league lead in home runs with Nelson Cruz, Luke Voit, and Fernando Tatis Jr. And a lot of people you're probably thinking right now is just like, yes, so he's the best player in the game. Like, there's nothing historical about being that. Well, he is 1 home run shy of tying Tim Salmon for the most home runs ever hit in an Angels uniform. And he's only like 28, so he still has about 12, 13 years left on his deal. Just let that sink in. He has he has more years left on his contract than he does actually playing the game of baseball professionally, and he is already about to be the number 1 home run hitter in the history of the Angels franchise. You could easily, at this rate, easily pencil him in for 600, and we're pushing towards 700. If he really gets hot, we're looking at the context of a 700 career homer hitter if he stays healthy. And we could have said the same thing about Albert Pujols, right? Because Albert Pujols was heading that way, and they're kind of similar in their in their career averages. But then with the move across the country, he wasn't really comfortable in Los Angeles. Because that's another thing that people just they make a trade. Like, people are talking about Garrett Cole. He looks different. He looks off. Yeah, of course he looks off. Of course he does. He moved halfway across the country. He moved from the Houston to the Big Apple of New York. He has to do a bunch of things different. He has to learn just how to live in New York City. Going from Pittsburgh to Houston, yeah, he pitched well, but he didn't just hop in, at an Astros uniform and then win 18 consecutive starts. Like, people just see, like, oh, he won 18 consecutive starts for the Houston Astros. Yeah, because he was comfortable. He knew what he was doing. He knew Houston. He knew how to live. So he was like, okay, yeah, I'm comfortable. I'm Garrett Cole. I'm going to go out and I'm going to be Garrett Cole. And, Yankee fans, you guys are kind of dealing with it in a way that's like, oh, what is he doing? Like, we paid so much money for him. Like, whatever. A dude's got to get comfortable. Like, Bryce Harper, when he first got his deal, everybody was saying, like, oh, they paid him too much. Yeah, he's not comfortable yet. And he is now, and he's having an MVP caliber season. You gotta give it some time. Manny Machado never really got comfortable in LA because he knew he had a foot out the door and was going to free agency. So, like, why am I going to get comfortable and just, like, I'm just going to rely on my talent and, get me going some places. And it got him a $330 million deal to send him to San Diego. He goes down to San Diego. He doesn't have the best best season or two. I forget how long he's actually been there. But, yeah, he doesn't have the greatest. I think last year was his first season. Even then, first season, whatever, he wasn't great. And then this year, he's like back-to-back player of the weeks. And he's just mashing every baseball he sees, and he's on one of the hottest teams in the MLB. It's like, yeah, no kidding. He's comfortable. He's playing like himself again. He's on a winning team. So, like, that's one thing that I think that, the deal where Trout solidified himself, he's comfortable in Los Angeles, and he knows the type of stuff that he can do in the game of baseball, and he doesn't want to have to do the whole moving thing and the being adjusted and figuring out, okay, where am I going to do this, where am I going to do that? So I think that'll actually lead him more to, the 700 route instead of the just like the 600, low 600s, I would say. And then let's close this segment out. So 2 days after the trade deadline, that guy in Cleveland, Tristan McKenzie, threw more shutout innings. How many? 6 dominant frames is how they put it in ESPN.com. His first scoreless outing, 6 innings, no earned, 3 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts. He is 2-0, and he has a 1.69 ERA. Good riddance, Mike Clevenger, because we got Tristan McKenzie, and he looks just as dominant as you ever did. Like, I'm not going to get on the hype train right now, even though I just compared him. I said he was better than Mike Clevenger. I didn't actually say that. I just kind of hinted at it. But to be fair, the hype is like, Tristan McKenzie is here. Learn his name, love his name. He is here to stay. With with Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie, Zach Plesac, Adam Savale. Cleveland is good. All they got to do is get some outfielders, get some help in the back end of the bullpen, and get some help at the top of the lineup, and they're going to be good to go for the future. All right, guys, I will be right back. I'm going to be taking a quick break, and then I'll come back and talk about how gambling has actually made its way into baseball. Give me one moment. I'll be right back after this break.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, everybody, so we are back, and let's talk about gambling. So everybody who's listened to this, they know I'm a huge, huge, huge gambler. They know that I have a bet right now, before the season started, plus 1,500 for Fernando Tatis Jr. to win the National League MVP award. That's looking pretty good. My bet for Luis Robert to win AL Rookie of the Year, looking pretty good. Shane Bieber to win the Cy Young Award, looking mighty fine at this very moment. I was thinking about putting on him for AL MVP. I was really, really thinking about it. I don't think it's actually going to happen. I don't like betting pitchers to win, even though they are like a super dark horse with incredible odds. I didn't do it, so whatever. I missed out on an opportunity there, but so far so good at this point. But since I'm a huge gambler, there's been an announcement on the Chicago Sun-Times that the Cubs and DraftKings have announced a multi-year partnership on Thursday that will include the creation of a new sports book and possibly including betting windows at Wrigley Field. So now you can, basically what that would mean is you can go to Wrigley Field and just pick out lines and prop bets and place bets before the games. During the games, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would be, I think that would be absolutely insane. So it would be the first sports book at an MLB stadium, obviously. The deal is estimated to be worth about $100 million and will need approval from the city of Chicago. The partners will need to land a license with the Illinois Gaming Board. So as we know, sports betting gambling in general is becoming more popular around the United States. I think it's legal in 8 states right now, I think. I'm not sure right yet, so don't quote me on that. But as gambling is getting more and more popular, I feel like, it's only a matter of time before it's legal everywhere to go gamble on sports. I know that there's one in Oklahoma that I use. What is it? I think it's a Choctaw Casino or something like that. They have a sports book, so I go in there and I place some bets from time to time. Normally just preseason stuff, but DraftKings is looking like it's going to be the premier online gambling in the United States, and it's looking like they're going to start making their way into the stadiums. And I feel like this is a good idea because it's going to bring more of an atmosphere to the game, because I feel like we had everybody talks about how games were crazy in the 50s and the 40s, like all these games were nuts. Like there's a documentary about on HBO about the CCNY 1951 College of New York's basketball scandals, like when they were playing games in the old Madison Square Garden, and there was so many gamblers smoking cigars that you couldn't even see the score on the scoreboard because it was all hazy up in the upper decks. And they had that scandal where they were paying players to throw the games and stuff like that. So that kind of took a huge toll on gambling in the United States for sports, that is. But I feel like with the amount of people who are like protecting the players nowadays, and how players are more to themselves anyways than they've ever been before, I feel like it'll be, this time around it will be better. I feel like it won't be like the Joe Jackson, Black Sox scandal all over again. It won't be Pete Rose doing all that kind of stuff. I think we've seen, they laid the hammer on Pete Rose. So, I think that, players are gonna, kind of just chill on that and not bet on baseball. And plus on top of that, like, they're not gonna, it's gonna be regulated. And it's gonna be at Wrigley Field, and even then, who bets in no one carries around cash anymore, so no one pays with cash. So you have actual you can keep track. There's going to be a paper trail, you know what I'm saying, of what they bet on. Like, players probably are going to bet on, like, basketball or, you know, football, that kind of stuff, you know, if they want to use it to, you know, throw some money on a game, because they also said that it's looking like they want to make it as a hybrid sports book and sports bar in Wrigley Field that would even operate when the Cubs aren't playing in Chicago. So, you know, it looks like it's actually going to be a thing. And, you know, with the presence of Wrigleyville and all the, you know, amenities that are downtown and the vibrancy of downtown Chicago, you know, it looks like it could be a total poppin' business, because you go to the DraftKings, like, sports book, you know, you throw down some money, you spend your day going to Wrigleyville, you know, walking around down, like, in, you know, the beautiful parts of, you know, Chicago. And then after the night's over, you got your tickets, you can go back the next day and it'll just bring more people around if they have the opportunity. And I think it's just going to bring, you know, I think it'll bring a lot more positivity to, you know, that area. Because I know there's a bunch of people who, you know, are on opposite sides of the spectrum. Like, some people love Wrigleyville. From what I've heard, they say they love it. It's beautiful. Like, there's so many things to do. And then there's other people on the opposite end of the spectrum who don't like it. They say it's too crowded, it's too business oriented, and, you know, they miss the old days of Wrigley and that kind of stuff. So I can see both ends. I can see it being, you know, kind of hazardous, and I can see it being, you know, a really positive experience. I kind of look at it, I'm kind of a glass half full kind of a person, so I'm going to look at it as it's going to bring more positivity and more, you know, more business and, you know, more things that, you know, people are going to want to be around, and, you know, really brings a sort of, like, vibrancy to Chicago. Like, it'll make regular season games more exciting. You know, if you have, you know, the over on 5.5 runs, and, you know, Anthony Rizzo walks up and it's with a runner on base, and it's a 3-1 game, and, you know, he smacks a homer, and there you go, you got 6 games, or you got 6 runs. Like, the crowd, and, you know, if the majority of the crowd has the over, everyone's going to start cheering a lot more than, you know, just seeing a regular everyday, you know, 5-1 game. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I feel like it could be a lot. I feel like it is going to be great, and, you know, I feel like it's going to be a trial run for other states. Because, like I said, you know, Illinois isn't one of the states that actually is where gambling is legal. You know, DraftKings, they already have retail sports books in 8 states, including Casino Queen in, like, East St. Louis. Sorry. So, I mean, you could even say that, you know, they have a sports book right outside of the Cardinals games. And one thing I'm not going to put, say, gambling is the reason why the Cardinals have such a great fan base, but, you know, they do have one of the best fan bases, and, you know, there's gambling there, and you can, you know, if you can't even make the game, you know, you go out to a restaurant, you put some extra money down, and, you know, what's $10? That, a little technical difficulty right there. I don't know what happened, but, you know, I don't know why that, you know, like, what's $10 at the end of the day? Like, it's honestly just $10. So if you get, like, say, you know, you walk in there and you do a little, you know, $5 parlay on the game, you know, you got Cardinals, you know, minus 1.5, you know, you get the money line also, and you get the over of 5.5 runs, and you put down $5, you can probably win like 30. Like a $30 like payout on a $5 bet while you're having dinner. Like, that sounds fun to me. And at the end of the day, if you lose, it's just $5. Like, it's not gonna turn people into, like, you know, these obsessive gamblers. It could, but that's everything, you know. Going out to a bar and drinking all night, you know, it could turn someone into an alcoholic. That's just the risk that it brings. And if you can't handle it, then you have to, you know, get a handle on yourself. So, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be great. There was a quote in the Chicago Sun-Times that read, "This is truly a historic moment as we are thrilled to align with the renowned Chicago Cubs franchise and the iconic Wrigley Field to provide sports bettors in Chicago with a revolutionary sports betting experience." So, DraftKings co-founder and president Matt Kalish said in this joint statement, quote, "As two organizations that share a mutual passion for innovation and a commitment to excellence, we look forward to working in collaboration with the Cubs, an organization steeped in tradition, and making our presence felt around Wrigleyville." So, basically, baseball is going to go in a direction where they're going to try and, they're opening up to gambling. They are. They're going to open it up because, they're going to try and change, the past history and all the negative connotation around gambling, especially with, the Black Sox scandal that derailed, baseball a few years ago. And DraftKings has been in a partnership with the MLB with its daily fantasy games. So, they've been able to do a bunch of stuff with DraftKings, and I feel like if they were going to open up gambling to any certain type of, option, it was going to be DraftKings at the end of the day. Alrighty, everybody, I'm going to be taking another quick break, and I will be coming back to speak about I'm going to talk about the top 15 players that are going to be free agents at the end of the year and just see, what happens, just predict what happens with them and what kind of contract and where you all think they should go. Alrighty, people, just give me one moment. I'll be right back after this break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Alright, everybody, we are back once again. Thank you for sticking around this long. I really appreciate it when you guys stay for, more than just the first couple segments. So, the major topic around baseball the past few weeks, as we all know, has been the trade deadline. The trade deadline has really been something that we've all focused on, and we've really, all baseball, podcasts, all baseball shows, I guess, are focusing around the trade deadline because, it's always the biggest news. Who's buying, who's selling, because it's the future of the game is pretty much at stake. Like, this is where, good teams become great, and here's where, bad teams set themselves up for the future. So, since the trade deadline is over, let's go to the closest thing to the trade deadline, because I know you guys are sick of it. It is free agency. So there are some pretty big names on the free agent market this year. I'm just going to I just grabbed like 15 of the best names, where they are, all that kind of stuff, and just think about where they're going to be once we take into account the way this season goes, and where they might actually end up signing. So the first name, obviously, I'm going to start at the top. It is JT Realmuto. JT Realmuto obviously is the best young. Actually, I won't even say the best. I'd say he's number 2 in the league. Actually, I would say he's behind. Wilson Contreras of the Chicago Cubs, but I'm also biased because everybody knows that I love Wilson Contreras. So yeah, he's definitely, easily top 3. Everybody can argue their little, take on, catching in baseball, but basically I can see him staying with the Philadelphia Phillies. If he wants to win, I feel like he would stay with the Phillies, because I feel like, they're kind of rounding out into who they're going to be. I don't think he would sign a massive long-term deal, because I feel like the Phillies are in a position to where they will be able to win in a few seasons. Probably, I think I said on the last episode, like 2022, 2023, I see them being, a World Series contender, so give it a couple more years. He could go for like a Yasmani Grandal deal, 4 years, $73 million, but that'll put him at, that'll put him around age 35 when he is done with that, and he'll have a couple more contracts to be able to go, elongate his career, that is, and especially if, the DH stays in the National League, then he'll really be in a position to where he can, maximize his potential for, the future. So I would say that, he's probably going to get extended before the season ends, but he could also be one of those guys who just goes into free agency looking for the highest bidder at that point. Let's go. Moving on, we got Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer's at 30 years old right now. He is one of the best pitchers in the National League. He's definitely going to go into free agency and, ask for the highest bidder. And it's going to be, I think that this year is going to be, the Trevor Bauer sweepstakes out of all things, because, there's always that one person, the prized free agent, who we're all waiting on, like, what's going to happen. I feel like it's going to be Trevor Bauer, because all the names are really good, but it's no, like, real, get you over the top type of players. And I think Trevor Bauer is definitely going to be the one that we're all waiting on, and he's going to be the first domino to really fall. And, what if he does anything, it's going to be really weird. So, I mean, that's the best part about free agency, is just to see how Trevor Bauer handles, his free agency. I mean, the dude does everything weird. I mean, he got a GED so he can go to UCLA and pitch early because he didn't want to pitch in his high school season anymore. So, I mean, if you are wondering what Trevor Bauer is as a person, I think that pretty much answers it. Moving on, we got George Springer. So George Springer is 31 years old. He is the premier outfielder on this list. He's been injured a lot recently, so that'll probably limit the amount of money that he's going to make. Everybody knows about the cheating scandal and all that kind of stuff, and with his injury history, he's probably not going to make as much money as we thought. But he has a career 845 OPS, and he's had a bunch of clutch hits in the postseason. Granted, we can argue saying that he knew what was coming, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think that he's still a good enough player to warrant the type of hype that he's going to get. And he seems like a pretty good plan B for some teams after, Mookie Betts has been locked up by the Dodgers and not going into free agency anymore. Number 4, we have Marcus Semien. So Marcus Semien, he's been really, really good defensively the past couple of years, and, he's played some pretty good offense last season. He's been a real impact player for the Mets, or not the Mets, the A's. I feel like he's going to stay with Oakland because I don't feel like anybody is going to bite on shortstops this season, because the market of 2021 and 2022 is going to be insane, because you got Francisco Lindor, Carlos Correa, Javi Baez, Corey Seager, and Trevor Story, all set to be free agents at the exact same time. I feel that with those names on the market. But see, with baseball, it's also weird because you never know if someone's going to test the free agent market or not, because they can pretty much get an extension any time. You know, in free agency in like the NFL, they're always signing deals before the season's over. If they're going to sign an extension, they're going to get an extension. Very rarely do you actually see a big free agent splash in the NFL. And then with the NBA, it seems like everybody goes straight to free agency and is negotiating for maxes and super maxes and all that kind of stuff, and a sign and trade if they want the super max, and they can't get it. You know, a sign and trades normally is how that goes out. But with the MLB, it's kind of different. You know, they can negotiate. They normally, all the great players negotiate contracts, perform sign and trades, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if any of those big 5 names actually goes into the next offseason, actually, you know, on the free agent market. If so, I would love to see Francisco Lindor in a Braves jersey. I think I would cry out of complete happiness, and that would be probably also the greatest day of my life. But it's not about him. It is about Marcus Semien. I feel like Marcus Semien will stay with the Oakland A's, maybe even on a 1 year deal with a club, or a 2 year deal with a club option, kind of something like that, with you know, maybe if, you know, the A's suddenly get a change of heart and actually decide to spend in the offseason, which never happens. Moving on, we got Marcell Ozuna. Now, Marcell Ozuna turned down a 3-year offer from the Reds to sign a 1-year, $18 million contract with Atlanta, and man, is he worth it. He has had an OPS north of 900, and he has been absolutely crushing baseballs. You know, he's a below average defender. He's not good in the defensive end, but it looks like the NL is going to keep the designated hitter position. So if the NL keeps the DH, and the DH is just everywhere in baseball, I think Marcell Ozuna is going to be a hot commodity on the free agent market. I feel like he's going to be the next, like, Nelson Cruz and Edwin Encarnacion. Just plug him into the lineup and let the man just crush baseballs for a living. That being said, I really hope that the Braves go out and re-sign him. He has been a godsend to this team, and the best signing. He's only 30 years old. Bet on him. Give him a 5-year deal worth like $110 million. That would be perfect for him. He can hit. Just plug him into the lineup in the 3-hole or in the 4-hole behind Freddie Freeman, and just have him mash baseballs on the reg. That would be so sick. Have him in the lineup with Pache, Waters, Acuna, Albies, Freeman, Camargo, Swanson, Riley, Travis DeArnaud. Like, we have so many weapons in that Braves lineup. Keeping Marcell Ozuna there is no chance that you can ever take a break. Going on to number 6, we have the most intriguing name in my eyes on these free agent market. We have DJ LeMahieu. So DJ LeMahieu, 32 years old. He signed a 2-year, $24 million deal last season, or the season before last. So he's going to be a free agent going into his age 33 season. He's had a 142 OPS plus. He's played every single position on the infield. He is easily the best hitter on the Yankees, in the Yankees lineup. What is going to happen to DJ LeMahieu? Are they going to keep him? I would like to see them keep him. You know, I kind of like DJ LeMahieu in New York. He could, you know, they could just let him go because of his age and just hope that Gleyber Torres and Andujar and, you know, all their team just stops getting bit by the injury bug, but they're so injured all the time. It's like they really need as much depth as possible. So I could see DJ LeMahieu coming back to the Bronx this offseason. He could also, you know, end up for a team that kind of needs a bat in the infield, or maybe move him to like a DH role in a way. Who knows? We'll see what happens with him. Going to the next best arm on the market, my favorite pitcher in the bigs right now, it's Marcus Stroman. So Marcus Stroman is 29 years old right now. He sat out the year. He suffered an injury So he suffered a calf tear, but then he came back. He threw a simulated game. Looks like everything that I heard said that he was pitching fine. He looked amazing coming off that calf tear, and he said, all right, guys, peace, and just left. He opted out of the season. He's going to go into free agency. He is not a high strikeout pitcher, but he has come up huge in big games. Like, I will never forget the performance he put in the World Baseball Classic in the title game. He was the man. I was never so excited to watch a baseball game in my entire life. Marcus Stroman went out there. He killed it. Since then, he has been one of my favorite pitchers in the game. And I don't know where he's going to go. I feel like he is just going to switch sides in New York, because I feel like the Yanks are just going to offer him more money. I feel like they're going to outbid for him, especially with, Tanaka is going to come up on this list a little bit later. He's going to be young. He's younger. He has that dog in him. He has the big moments under his belt. He has the resume to come in and just shut the game down. And if he's able to do that, I feel like Marcus Stroman is going to get paid and a half this year. I feel like I'm just ready for it. I'm ready to see him in Yankee pinstripes. I feel like it's just going to happen. I feel like he's going to stay in the East, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Next up, we have Didi Gregorius. So we have Didi is 31 years old. He just signed a 1-year, $14 million deal with the Phillies. We took kind of a hit after his recent season where he got, shut down due to Tommy John surgery. He isn't the best option to look at for shortstops on the market. Obviously, we went over Marcus Semien. I don't think he's going to get a ton of money, especially because we mentioned what the next year's market's going to look like for shortstops. But he is one of the best in strikeouts. He's got 10.4% strikeout rate in the MLB. He's among one of the best. He does not strike out a lot. He hits for power. He can do pretty much anything on the field. So I feel like Didi Gregorius is going to get another big contract. He might get like a 4 or 5 year deal, I'm thinking. He might get like a 6-year, something like that. Put him towards age 37. And, by the end of his deal, probably just be a DH somewhere. But still, Didi can still mash baseballs. He's one of the best hitting shortstops in the league. He's going to get paid somewhere else. And who knows, he might get moved to second base. Like, that could possibly work, especially with the Tommy John. Probably, I haven't seen much of him this year, but I'm sure the Tommy John affected the way he threw. And, Father Time is undefeated, so he's probably going to get him there. Going on to number 9, we have Liam Hendricks. He's a 32-year-old relief pitcher for the LA Dodgers. He got, what are they saying here? So, in 2018 with the A's, he had a sub-1 ERA, 0.78 in 80 and a third innings. He was hurt in 2019, and he's been killing it for the Dodgers this year in the back end of the bullpen. The Dodgers, they always seem to struggle in the back end of the bullpen. This year, you've seen Kenley Jansen kind of have a resurgence. He just got reliever of the month for last month for the National League. So with him killing it for the Dodgers, he's a 32-year-old. There's not really many names in the free agent market for the upcoming season for for the back end of the bullpen. I feel like you could see Blake Treinen getting an extension with the Dodgers. If they were smart, they will do that because they can't ride Kenley Jansen out for much longer. Or I could see him getting just absolute tons of money thrown at him by an AL team looking for contenders. Maybe if the Cleveland Indians are looking to splurge, they could be in the market for Blake Treinen. Who knows? Moving on, we have Alex. I'm going to butcher his name so bad. I've never been able to say this. Alex Colome. I'm going to go with Colome. He's 32 years old. First the White Sox. He's been a reliable closer for forever. He's got a 0.68 ERA and the lowest opponent weighted on base averages with 2.02 .247 in the bigs. He is a hell of a closer. He is the number one closer on the market right now. If the Chicago White Sox are smart, they would go ahead and re-sign him because they are looking like they are going to be major contenders, and they cannot let a single piece go. And with the amount of names on this list, it's not looking like you're going to find a really good back end of the bullpen piece that you're just going to be able, to have in your back pocket. Might as well just do what's right and re-sign him here. If not, he's going to get a ton of money from someone else for about 3 years. I would give it about 3 years, $70 million coming for him, on the market at least. Next up, we have Shane Green of the Atlanta Braves. He is 32 years old. He had a rough last season. I'm talking rough last year. I did not think he was going to be that great when he came in, and he did not live up to any of the expectations. Green, he has an ERA right now hovering around 2 and with a sub-1 whip, which is nice. I always worry about the whip because I want to know how many times, he gets himself into a bad situation. And, sub-1 is definitely what I look for when I go for bullpen pieces. They can't really throw that much. And, if they're working themselves into trouble, it's just going to be rough, not only for them, but it's going to be rough for the entire team. So Shane Green, I don't feel like he's going to be back in a Braves uniform. I feel like he's just going to hover around free agency and just be like one of those, like just kind of like meh signings, not something that you're really like hovering for in free agency or like by the winter meetings or anything like that. But I say about like mid-January, it'll be just some kind of ticker on MLB Network going, oh, Shane Green signed somewhere. That's pretty much all I really expect out of him, really. Moving on, we have Masahiro Tanaka. So Masahiro Tanaka, I feel like they're going to let him go out of the Bronx, and I feel like they're going to go after Marcus Stroman. If they can't get Marcus Stroman and Tanaka's still on the board, I could see them bringing him back. But, he's lost velocity over the years. He has altered his splitter a little bit and had some good results. He is a quality arm, but, he does have a partial torn UCL in his throwing elbow. It's like they need someone who's younger, who's, just fit for the Bronx. They got to keep the ball on the ground. And, Marcus Stroman, he keeps the ball on the ground a lot more than Masahiro Tanaka does. With those kind of, and just with being able to withstand the Yankees, like the New York media and all that kind of stuff, and just the Yankee fans, I feel like Marcus Stroman would do a better job than Tanaka does in the later years. I feel like Tanaka is just going to be kind of like a Hyun-jin Ryu in a way. That's where he's like he's going to get some money to play somewhere else, and it's going to be kind of like a prove it type of a deal. We'll see what happens. Moving on, we got our final two. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to wrap this up soon. We have Taijuan Walker. He is 28 years old. He just got traded from Seattle to the Toronto Blue Jays. I feel like the Blue Jays are going to be aggressive to try and re-sign him. He's had success this season. The pitching market not great, like really not great for starters, and with a team that's hungry like the Toronto Blue Jays are, I truly feel like they're just going to go after him and try to re-sign him. And if not, I don't know what's going to happen. But I don't feel like Taijuan Walker is going to make a huge dent or be like kind of somebody who you're really looking forward to, your team going after. I don't feel like he's going to make waves or anything like that. So I feel if I had to guess, he's going to stay in Toronto. I know I've said that about a lot of these people, but it just makes more sense to me that he stays in Toronto. Now, lastly, to close this up, I feel like this guy's going to be on the market for a hot minute. I really don't feel like he's going to get scooped up very early. It is Mike Minor. So Mike Minor, he was technically on the bottom half of the Cy Young in 2019. He was looking really good. He had this year he's been a kind of a step backwards. He's 33 years old. He's a lefty. He's kind of been a journeyman, not really a journeyman, I would say, because he's he was in Atlanta, and then he went to Texas. I don't know if he went anywhere between Atlanta and Texas, but, nevertheless, like, I just don't feel like he's got much in him. I feel like he's going to be kind of like a Cole Hamels in a way, but Cole Hamels is going to get a lot more press because of his name, because of, what he's done in the MLB throughout his career, and, just the games that he's been able to pitch for the Phillies back in their heyday of a decade ago. I feel like Mike Minor is just going to be able to have a few more years. Maybe he'll get like a 2-year deal and some 1-year deals and pitch for another 5 years. And then I would say by 38, he's going to be out of the league. I feel like he could easily be like, picked up by the Cubs. I feel like the Cubs are going to be a good team to make a play for Mike Minor, to pair him with Yu Darvish and just like, see if they can get really any more juice out of them as they really can. And that is it for this segment, everybody. I'm going to be taking a quick break, and then I will be doing what I do best. Every episode we're going to watch, find out, the best series to watch for this weekend. This weekend we're going to I feel like it's going to be jam-packed. I haven't checked it out yet. I'm going to right now, but I will be right back after this quick break.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
All right, everybody, we are back. Let's close out the show the right way. So hopefully you all are listening to this on Friday when it just comes out, because Friday is one hell of a day for baseball. So I'm looking at it right now, and majority of the teams are having double headers on Friday. So double headers I'm looking at right now. We have Detroit versus Minnesota. We have that in a doubleheader. We got Toronto. We got Toronto in a doubleheader. We got Washington. We got the Washington and the Braves. Sorry, Toronto's playing the Boston Red Sox. I didn't really make that clear. So we got Detroit versus Minnesota. We got Toronto, Boston, Washington, Atlanta, New York, and Baltimore. Let's see. We have Miami, Tampa Bay. Is that a doubleheader? Tampa. No, we don't have that in a doubleheader. So it looks like those are just going to be the doubleheaders of the day. But we have a ton of games. Every single team is playing, like I said, sometimes twice. So let's go into the weekend series. So naturally, I love watching this Detroit Tigers team. I cannot tell you why. They're so much fun. It looks like that the Minnesota Twins have been able to rebound against the Chicago White Sox and put themselves in back into the thick of things in the AL Central. So definitely pay attention to that one, because Detroit has been, they've played Minnesota pretty heavy. So it could be, a real slugfest going up there in definitely in Minneapolis. Let's see, moving on. Let's see. It's a huge series for the New York Yanks. You have Devi Garcia versus Alex Cobb in New York in Game 1. I'm definitely watching this because Devi Garcia came out and had one great debut, and I can't wait to see how he backs it up, and especially since, New York has kind of struggled with every team not named Boston. They just lost the series to Tampa, and they lost, their closer to a few games. For his little spat with the Tampa Bay Rays. New York needs to come out, and they need to settle things down and really just assert themselves in the series with Baltimore. That's definitely something to watch. I want who do they have pitching later in the day? Undecided versus Jorge Lopez. So I guess we'll find out, later in the day on Friday. Miami and Tampa Bay. That's probably going to be a good series. I think that Tampa Bay is probably going to sweep them, knowing that Tampa is just hot as hot can be right now, and they're just angry. They're really trying to just separate themselves from the New York Yankees while they can, so I feel like they're not going to mess around, and they're just going to, assert their will against the Miami Marlins. Going down the list here, Cleveland versus Milwaukee is probably going to be pretty good. Cleveland's fighting for that AL Central title right now, and Milwaukee's trying to fight its way back into the NL Central. They're not too far out of it. So that I feel like that'll definitely be a slugfest there. You got Corbin Baines versus Carlos Carrasco. Sorry. So, you get to see Cookie Carrasco pitch, which is going to be, you don't really need me to sell you on Cookie Carrasco's pitching. Like, if you don't know by now, then you're just not paying attention. Brady Singer is going to be thrown for the Kansas City Royals against the Chicago White Sox and Dane Dunning. I say I watch every White Sox game. That's just pro tip. Watch all of them. They're all entertaining. None of them are boring. You're gonna see homers. You're gonna see young, exciting talent, and you're gonna see some swag on the field. So anytime that I could see that, and then I really liked watching Brady Singer when he was pitching for Florida in the College World Series. So I can't wait to see him throwing the bigs. I haven't been able to catch one of his games yet, so I'll definitely be tuning into that one. That is at 7:05 Central Time. Big series this week. We got Jack Flaherty versus Yu Darvish in St. Louis at Chicago. Yeah, tune into that game. Anytime you can watch Jack Flaherty pitch, tune it in. Whenever you can see the reinvented Yu Darvish pitch, do that. The fact that they're going against each other, that is going to be a huge slugfest in Chicago. I cannot wait to watch that. St. Louis, Chicago. It's going to be aired on ESPN Plus, it looks like. Can't wait. Insert Bart Scott. Here we go. So we got Houston at the Angels, not really something to pay attention to. Texas, Seattle, not really something to pay attention to. Colorado at the Dodgers, that's definitely something to throw on late at night when you're bored, you're about to fall asleep. Some Dodgers and Colorado bait. Ooh, wait, never mind. Don't be turning on that one. Well, actually turn on that because it has Dustin May, and Dustin May is my guy. But that'll definitely be a good series. But I feel this is the series of the weekend right here. The series of the weekend, hands down, bar none. San Diego Padres, Oakland Athletics. Does it get any better? You have one of the hottest offenses in the NL, and you have one of the best pitching staffs with the Oakland A's. You have Jesus Luzardo versus Zach Davies. What a pitching matchup right there. This is the series to watch. It is the number one series. Oh my God, can you tell how hyped I am? Even the jerseys. If we get the oatmeal pinstriped San Diego Padres jerseys paired up with the Kelly Green Oakland Athletics jerseys, my head will explode. You guys don't understand that those are the two of my favorite those are my two favorites. Like, my two favorite jerseys right there, and they're going to be playing in Oakland this weekend. I cannot wait. Oh my God. And Saturday. Oh my goodness. On Saturday, Chris Paddock versus Sean Manaea. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I am not missing a single game of this series. I cannot wait. And with that, I don't think I can get any more excited, so I'm just going to end it with that. I cannot wait. Thank you all for listening, for staying this long, for listening to me. That is going to be our show. I will be back on Tuesday with a new episode. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy your families, and enjoy the Padres and the A's. Oh my goodness. If you can follow me on Instagram at EvanWorley23, you can play me at Tap Baseball. If you're bored, nickname is EvanWorley23, and I would like to thank you all for listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like you all to ask you to please remember to subscribe to the show, to write a nice review, because it really helps us out. And also, if you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Everybody have a great night and have a wonderful weekend.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.